What kind of kingdom reaches the point where the king's own men refuse a direct order, where soldiers who have followed their ruler into battle, who have sworn loyalty with their lives, suddenly go silent and still? And yet, one man steps forward, one man, a foreigner in the king's court, does what no Israelite would do. This is not a story about a king losing his mind. It is a story about what happens when fear finds the right servant. The story is found in the first book of Samuel, chapters 21 and 22, and it begins with a man running for his life. David was no ordinary fugitive. He had killed Goliath, he had led armies, he had been loved by the people, but none of that mattered now, because King Saul had decided David was a threat. And in that world, when a king decided you were a threat, you either fled or you died. David came to a place called Nob. It was not just a village, it was a priestly city, a place where sacred objects were kept and where worship before God was maintained. The high priest there was a man named Ahimelech, and when he saw David arrive alone and unarmed, he trembled. He knew something was wrong. David told him a half-truth. He said he was on a secret mission for the king. He asked for bread and a weapon. Ahimelech had only one weapon available, the sword of Goliath, the same giant David had defeated years before, preserved and wrapped in cloth behind the sacred ephod. Ahimelech gave David the bread, gave him the sword, and sent him on his way. What Ahimelech did not know was that someone had seen everything. The text gives us a short, quiet detail, almost easy to miss. It says that on that day, one of Saul's servants was there. His name was Doeg. He was an Edomite, a foreigner holding a high position in Saul's court. He heard the conversation. He saw the bread and the sword. And he said nothing. Not yet. To understand what happens next, we need to understand the world these men were living in. Because this is not simply a personal story, it is a political one. Saul was the first king of Israel, ruling around 3,000 years ago. His kingdom was young and fragile, surrounded by enemies on every side. Scholars studying this period describe Saul as a state builder in a time of constant instability, a man trying to hold a new nation together with limited resources and real military threats. Nob was not just a place of worship. Research on this period suggests it functioned as a serious religious and political center, housing the bread of the presence and the high priest's ephod, an object used for seeking divine guidance. A city with that kind of influence was, in Saul's mind, becoming dangerous. The exact location of Nob has been debated for centuries. Some researchers place it north of ancient Jerusalem, near the area known today as the Mount of Olives. Archaeological work in that region has confirmed Iron Age settlement patterns that match the general period, even if no inscription has yet identified Nob by name. Doeg fits into this picture in a very specific way. He was a foreigner who had built his position through loyalty to the crown. Men who rise that way inside a royal court learn one thing quickly. The most valuable thing they can offer a king is information. When Doeg returned to court and told Saul what he had seen at Nob, Saul's response was immediate and extreme. He summoned Ahimelech and all the priests of Nob and accused them of conspiracy. Ahimelech defended himself honestly. He said he had helped David because David was the king's most trusted servant, and he had no reason to believe otherwise. But Saul would not listen. He ordered his guards to execute the priests, every one of them, and then something extraordinary happened. They refused. His soldiers, loyal in everything else, would not raise their hands against the priests of God. Even inside a court shaped by fear, there was still a line these men would not cross. So Saul turned to Doeg, and Doeg did not hesitate. The text tells us that 85 priests were killed that day. And it did not stop there. The entire city of Nob was destroyed. Only one man escaped, a priest named Abiathar, who fled to find David and told him everything. Now here is the question that scholars and theologians have been sitting with for centuries. Why did Saul's own men refuse, while a foreigner acted without hesitation? Some scholars read this as a moment of divine judgment, the final sign that God had withdrawn his blessing from Saul. Others approach it through a political lens, suggesting that Saul had grown suspicious of the priestly network's influence, and that David's connection to it looked from the throne like the foundation of a rival power base. The destruction of Nob was not pure madness. It may have been a calculated purge. A third interpretation comes from a close reading of Psalm 52, which tradition connects directly to this moment. The psalm opens by addressing a man who boasts in causing harm, describing a tongue like a sharp razor and words used as weapons. Many interpreters believe this psalm was written in response to Doeg specifically, treating his act of reporting as the first crime, the words spoken in court that set everything in motion before any weapon was ever drawn. 3 different readings, 3 different angles, and all of them converge on the same disturbing detail. It only took one man willing to say yes. What we see in Doeg is something that has repeated itself in human history long after this story was written. Psychologists who study obedience and authority have documented what happens inside groups when someone in power gives an order that crosses a moral line. Most people hesitate, some refuse, but almost always there is someone who steps forward. And that person is often not acting out of pure cruelty. They are acting out of calculation. Doeg was an outsider whose entire position depended on being useful to Saul. Refusing the order would have cost him everything. Obeying it confirmed his place. Researchers call this instrumental compliance, doing something harmful not because you believe in it, but because the personal cost of saying no feels too high. But that explanation alone is not enough, because the Israelite soldiers also had costs. They also risked the king's anger, and they still refused, which means Doeg's choice was not only about survival. It was about what kind of man he had decided to be inside that system. This does not reduce the story to a theory. The sacred text carries the weight of these events at a level no psychological framework can fully reach. But understanding the human mechanism helps us see why the Bible preserved this detail so carefully. The moment when every other person goes silent and one person says yes, that moment reveals who someone truly is. It shows what they are actually loyal to. 3,000 years later, the city of Nob is gone. Its name appears a few times in Scripture and then disappears from history. But the question it leaves behind does not disappear. When the order is wrong and everyone else refuses, what do you do? Doeg's story does not offer a comfortable answer. It offers a warning. The most dangerous person in a corrupt system is not always the one giving the orders. Sometimes it is the one who finally agrees to carry them out. The Bible understood this, and it recorded his name so we would not forget it. If these ancient stories speak to you, if you want to explore faith through the lens of history and the truth of human nature, subscribe to Eden Unsolved and leave a like so more people can find these stories. We are not here to shake your faith. We are here to go deeper into it.